morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. Sorry for a little bit of the tardiness. We were having some internet issues throughout the globe as I was having some. Luca's dealing with some weather issues where he is, and Donald as well. But Donald will be joining us very shortly along with Luca. But we do hope everybody did enjoy their weekend as we will be breaking down everything going on with the Yankees bullpen today as we started getting into it at the end of Friday's show and really wanted to give it the attention it deserves. And, you know, just to kind of stall as we wait for Donald to reboot, if you guys have an idea of who will be taking, who might be a dark horse to get a rotation spot, a bullpen spot rather, anybody from the bullpen you think is going to be slotted to the pen to fill the gap a little bit, and what you guys thought of the Yankees that performed in that amazing game last night between the United States and Dominican Republic in the WBC, as the United States will be advancing, and we are all psyched for it. Unless you were rooting for the Dominican Republic, that was one hell of a game. The umps made it extremely controversial, but nevertheless, the United States team really took the game. Their pitching held down a lineup that was just tearing teams apart. Mercy rules, it was no easy feat for what Team USA's pitching had done. And just to give a quick through the comments, if you want to drop a comment, very easy. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and make sure you smack that like button, as it does help the channel grow more and more each time we come on live. So, of course, bright and early as always. Jonathan, what is going on? Good morning to you. Healing Human Heart. Yes, the Yankees are in serious trouble with their bullpen. We're going to be looking at that a little closer as we get the guys in after they deal with some of their technical issues. And Miguel, good morning, Tats. Where's my boy Donald? Donald's coming. He had a reboot. So he will be on momentarily. So just going to kind of hang out with you guys in the chat, bullshit a little bit. And then when they get on, we'll get more into the grind of the show. Mr. So Porter, what's going on? So. We're going to have to catch up sometime in the next day or two. And hope all is well on your end. The current U.S. team could win a World Series. That's possible too. And there he is on cue. Miguel was very upset that you weren't on the show.
I'm here.
But just real quick, one more guy in the chat we didn't say good morning to. John the Beagle Dab is going on, guys. John is vacationing in Texas. And TC Steels, good morning. Good morning to you. Donald, we kicked off, while it was a couple of things I brought up real quick while we were rebooting. Who do they think, who does the chat think is going to, steal a bullpen spot? Is there a starting pitcher right now because there are so many starters on the roster? Who's going to slot into a bullpen? And what they thought of the Yankee performances in the WBC last night in that amazing game we saw. And
all right, let me start with the WBC. I came in,
yeah.
I started watching because I was watching the Nick game, but once it finished, I switched over to the WBC, and I caught just to the point when Soto got robbed on a low call. I have to say that I'm disappointed with the umpire's performance. I thought the umpire was actually a disgrace, and his strike zone was absurd. And it was a shame that such a great matchup got ruined by terrible, terrible umpiring, especially that final call that was a called strike, which was about that below the zone. It was a really good pitch framing from our catcher, I have to say. It was great, really well framed, but it was clearly low. and the DR got robbed, and they got robbed with Juan Soto as well. So it was two massive calls that changed the game, and I don't feel too good about that. I mean, I think it's a shame that in the latter stages of the tournament you couldn't get ABS installed. So I did read Jeff Passan's article where he said that they couldn't install it for the WBC because there'd just be too many players because they angle like your height and the strike zone in relation to your height. They do that. So they could do that for the majors, but for the WBC, because there was just too many people involved, they couldn't do it. But I'm thinking, why couldn't you do it for like the last 8 of the tournament? You know what I'm saying? Why couldn't you do it for the semifinals going onwards? Because you don't want to see something like that ruined by terrible umpiring. I even though I'm American, I didn't feel good about that. I felt a little bit icky, I have to say, that the DR kind of got robbed, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I think they kind of got robbed, and I didn't like it. So I think that the ABS should have been used at least for the latter stages, because I mean this is our game, right? This is our game around the world, right? Do you really want it to be ruined by officiating? We got robbed of a great matchup between Fernando Tatis and Mason Miller. That would have been an amazing matchup, you know, and we got robbed of it. So I think that's a real shame. But listen, we got the final coming up against Venezuela. It should be an interesting final, but yeah, I didn't feel too good about that one personally.
No, it's definitely not the cleanest way to win, you know, but the outcome was the outcome. You know, I thought the ump was bad on both sides of the ball. I don't think, you know, but the ABS, yeah, I agree with who had it in the comments saying that it was a cop out. That you know they couldn't get the ABS system in time. You know, I think that's bullshit. And you know, it's you know even Sunil, what's going on, Sunil? You know, regardless of which side you take, USA versus Dom, you know, you have to side with fairness, and you're right, because I think that both teams played a phenomenal game where you had two offenses. The Dominican team was averaging 10 runs a game, and Team USA was averaging, like, I think they said, like 8.2 runs a game. So you had two high offensive teams, you know, respectively playing together against each other. And the pitching really kind of, because of the bad umpiring, kind of got pushed to the back slot, you know, the back slot, and really didn't get the credit they deserved. There were a lot of instances where they could have easily, you know, had more runners, you know, more base runners. But the pitch framing I thought was, you know, amazing. I thought it was funny. I'm going to get to Luke in a second. I'm going to give you the floor. You've been away for a couple of days, so we're going to let you run with it for a little bit. But I had tweeted out yesterday. I thought, you know, with Wells's double, you know, I'm like, only in the WBC can you have, you know, a Yankee pitcher, you know, throw the pitch, the Yankees catcher hit the double, and then the Yankees right fielder fielding it. And it was just, I thought that, to me, that was very, you know, I'm glad that the run didn't come in and make a difference. But I thought that was a very unique situation that you could only get in the WBC. And that's kind of that spotlight factor that the tournament really needs. But Luca, how have you been? Glad you were able to join us today. I know you're dealing with a lot on your end, weather-wise, you know. But what's your thoughts on the WBC?
Yeah, first of all, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I'll disclose the weather stuff. It's not often, folks, that in your state you get a tornado warning and the threat of snow. And today is March 16th, so can take of which as you will, as we're about to kick off spring. Regardless, that's the point. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch the WBC yesterday. I was caught up at work. But for the most part, the biggest headline was the strike zone and the umpiring. I don't understand. And then Donald, I want to feed off Donald's point, what he said about Passan, what Passan said about the strike zone. How many players is ABS going to have to adjust to across baseball? How many players? Look at spring training right now. There's a ton of players and teams and all that. There's a ton of players that are not going to make the major league team. They're going to be sent down right to the minors. Think of our own team. Spencer Jones sent down. Lombard sent down. All these different guys. They use ABS in minor league baseball. They used ABS in minor league baseball before it became a development in major leagues. So don't sit here and tell us, and I'm not saying it's past its fault, obviously.
Yeah.
But don't sit here and tell us and say, oh, well, there's too many players. BS. I call it BS. If you've used it in spring training the last 2 to 3 years as an experiment, and then you decided, okay, we're going to use it for the major leagues in the regular season. Don't give me that nonsense. It's just a cop-out. It's just an excuse. That pitch to Perdomo that was called strike 3 was BS. Karl-Anthony Towns is correct. That pitch was not even close.
Yeah,
so it's they're just trying to cover up their own malfeasance, so to say. But that you can't. You have your Major League Baseball. You've invested millions and millions of dollars into this ABS stuff and all this new technology. You're telling me you can't frame it out a little bit more? Even down to just for the final 8 teams in the tournament? Come on now. That's just a cop out.
Yeah, as much as I agree, I think this is an interesting comment here from Jason Custodio. That they didn't use it because a lot of the other countries aren't familiar with it. But the counter to that, Jason, would be, a lot of the players on these rosters are already major league players or extremely familiar with major leagues. So, if you're dealing with a 100% amateur roster, I could see where that would have some validity. And like you said, not to say that you're wrong, that would be my counter to your statement. But look, regardless of the way that the balls and strikes were called, one thing I do want to bring up. No, we didn't get into that that throw yesterday. And we'll get to that, but just real quick to finish up with some of the pitching. It's when you look at Duvall and Bednar and the way that they commanded the ball yesterday, it gives me a lot of confidence going into this year. I thought they pitched extremely well, even with a little bit of pressure on them. Bednar looked fucking dominating. He looks so comfortable, against that team, and Duvall as well. Showed no intimidation at all, and that's the level that's what you want to see from your pitchers going into a season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need to really focus on the pitching, but we want to finish on the WBC first of all, then we'll move on and really break down the pitching situation, because I'm not as optimistic as some are, and it's nothing to do with the quality necessarily, because Bednar and Duvall. I mean, Bednar, I love Bednar. Like, Bednar's a beast. He's an absolute beast. And Duvall, when he's locating his pitches, is fantastic. But the big thing is when he locates his pitches. It's just the rest of the bullpen that really worries me in relation to what looks like a possible issue between Weathers and Louis Heel. They do not look good. And we're going to be relying on them for about 2 months.
Yeah.
Minimum. Well, at least one of them you're going to be relying on for 2 months. And if that happens every 5 days, we're only getting 3 quality starts out of 5. that means the bullpen's going to get used a lot and abused a lot every single day right through April and May, and then they'll be cooked by June. So that is something that's serious, because it would be the same. Like, if that happens, then we're talking about what happened last year when we had cooked Carrasco and Marcus Stroman. They were a complete and utter disaster, right? And we were overusing our bullpen to cover them. And then by that point, the bullpen was completely cooked by June. So we don't want the same thing to happen. And because Brian Cashman, I keep saying this, but because Brian Cashman didn't have an offseason, he didn't do anything, we don't have that kind of depth where we can cover that. So that is something that I do want to break down later. But to go back to WBC, I felt the umpire robbed us of a possible classic matchup. I really wanted to see Miller versus Fernando Tatis. I think that would have been an unbelievable matchup. We got robbed of that. And eighth inning, the DR have every reason to feel robbed after what they did with Juan Soto. I mean, again, I keep saying that. Juan Soto knows the strike zone better than any umpire. His on-base percentage is almost like 500. He's the walk king because he knows the strike zone inside out. So if he's laying off pitches that are pretty close, there's a very good chance. In fact, there's a higher probability than not that it's going to be out of the zone. And he knows the strike zone. And he was laying off pitches because they were way low or way high. It wasn't even close. But the umpire was egregious. I mean, when I only watched for the last like 2-3 innings, and I was like appalled. I was like, whoa. And the DR got robbed on a number of occasions. I was like, whoa, that's way out of the zone, even before we got to the ninth inning. So, no, I was worried about that, and it's a shame. It shouldn't have been that way. It's a semifinal. The DR added so much to the competition, and it was a highly partisan crowd in favor of the DR, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not rooting for the DR, but I mean, I have a lot of respect for them, ton of respect for them, and it just feels like they kind of got robbed. So, as for Aaron Judge, Spencer's right about bringing that up. That guy is unbelievable. What more can you say about this guy? His arm is ridiculous. And he got robbed of a home run as well. That was an incredible catch and at the wall. Judge is the man. What more can you say? It doesn't matter whether it's for USA or for the Yankees. He does something special every night. And it is you're blessed to watch that on a daily basis, because if he's not hitting balls out of the park, he's throwing guys out in right field or making spectacular catches. It's just what he does. You kind of get used to it at this point. So, he's a special player.
Yeah, it's not like he's some run of the mill player. You should have a book on Judge where you don't run on him. The guy, his arm and the accuracy in his throw, you should already know by now. All right, don't stretch that extra base when it goes to him. And Tatis called his bluff, and Judge is like, yeah, okay, Captain America here, let's get this out. And that's, and it had the whole Yankee universe where everybody was like, they all want to talk about, the drop ball and, his defense isn't as great as everybody wants to make it seem. Well, he was able to do that on the world stage. Where this is the game, this is the game he brings to us that we get to enjoy every day. It would have been it would have been great if he wasn't robbed of that home run, but hey, that's baseball season. But they should know by now. Like Tatis definitely, he forgot the playbook. If you hit it to Judge, don't try to sneak an extra base in there. He should have stuck with his double, and who knows what the outcome of the game could have been at that point.
Yeah, that's the lack of baseball IQ. You don't run on Aaron Judge. You've watched the game before. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was going to add on Donald's point about Juan Soto. How often even as a Yankee, when he was not a Yankee, when he was a Padre National, whatever. How often did you see Juan Soto strike out looking? Ever. Ever. Somebody brought up on Twitter. I was like, good point. Because Donald said he has a great eye for the strike zone. When do you ever see someone like Juan Soto strike out looking? Almost never. This guy isn't like Joey Gallo, who is presumed to have a great eye, then proceed to look at pitches right down the middle. No, this guy has a great eye for the strike zone. It's a shame. It's truly a shame. But
if I was the umpire and it's borderline, I'm gonna side with Juan Soto because if I missed it by a split second, I'm gonna trust that Juan Soto has a better idea of the strike zone because he's that good. You know, you kind of have to do that. So. Yeah, I felt kind of bad, and yeah, I know people are saying it was consistently called throughout, but it was consistently badly called from what I saw. Like
exactly.
I mean, from the 7th inning onward, I thought that the umpire was just dreadful. He should be ashamed of himself.
It almost felt like he was in a rush to get out of there.
Yeah.
I don't think it was more of they're going to be favoring calls one way or another. It's like I said, I think the zone was a complete mess on both sides. Right. But it's always going to be emphasized more for the team that, where the game ends in a loss on a bad call. Because if it was on the other side, the shoe was on the other foot, I think we'd still be having the same exact discussion. So it wasn't more of a favoritism thing. It was, we were watching a absolute classic where this might have been a better game, a better matchup, and game played than we'll see in the finals.
Yes.
And not to take away anything from Team Venezuela. They're in the finals. They deserve it. They played their ass off. But, it's one of these, you want to see, you want to see a phenomenal game have the fairness. And it just seems like the umpires were not fair to either squad. Yeah. And unfortunately, it cost the Dominican Republic in the end. And the umpires need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I have to say, Dealer handled that very, very well, by the way. Because they could have caused a ruckus, man. They could have been right in that umpire's face and just caused mayhem. But they didn't. He took it and
I think Dell froze on us.
Yep, that's what it seems. So, all right, let's get to the as we get to St. Patrick's Day. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of the show, and let's get to the. Yeah, Jason, I agree. I would definitely put that in the top 10 game. I think that's an extremely fair statement. Yeah, because I don't think it mattered who you were rooting for; you were locked into the outcome. And those are the games that
was it
could stand out more than watching just your regular run of the mill MLB game.
It was a classic old school pitching duel.
Yeah. Yep. Sebi looked good in the beginning. Scooble looked freaking amazing against that lineup. It really came down. It was pitching and defense. And unfortunately, it took a little bit of old school umpiring for it to completely go down. Even further downhill. But when I think it's safe to say when you're thinking about the back end of the bullpen for the Yankees. That part of it is pretty set. Bednar, Duvall, Fernando Cruz.
Yeah.
Maybe Tim Hill mixed into that. We're going to see how the rest of the bullpen actually not Scooble, Skeens. Sorry. Skeens yesterday. It's Carlos. How you been, man? No excuses, Carlos. She should have been here a long, long time ago. But good to see you back. Now, it's really who's going to be, that solid gap between when the starter comes out and getting to the back end of that bullpen. That's where you can really see, where this bullpen may not be as strong, you know, as we expect. I think there's still a lot of question marks and a lot of holes to be filled. I still don't think it's been ironed out. And to me, that's a problem at this point in the spring training. Everything should have pretty much a clear path and just getting everybody acclimated to their role. And that's a problem for me.
Yeah, Luca, how would you break down this bullpen?
I think questionable. I think Tat said perfectly that the back end of this bullpen is, reliable. You got Cruz, you got Duvall, when he's on, and Bednar. You got Tim Hill as your middle reliever. I agree that there's a distance between getting from the starting pitching to the middle of the bullpen. And it's like the Yankees almost overcorrected in a way, because I could break down two scenarios. Number one, many years ago, they spent heavy on the bullpen. They went for Roldis Chapman. They paid him a crap ton of money, and he was a mixed bag of results. They paid Zach Britton a ton of money. He got hurt at the end. He was a mixed bag of results. Now they've overcorrected to the point where last year the bullpen was a bit of a problem. So they had to go out and get not one, not two, three high-end relievers, supposed. Bird, trade. Duvall, trade. Bednar, trade. So they overcorrected, but then they just undercorrected again by not maintaining the back end of the bullpen, because I should also mention, right? They traded for Devin Williams. How did that work out? Luke Weaver, okay, he was good for a time. And last year, after that injury, he was no longer the same. So I said this last show, whether you wanted Luke Weaver or Devin Williams back is irrelevant. You have to replace them.
Yeah.
Because those are two biggest high-velocity arms in the back end of the bullpen, more so Devin Williams. So at the end of the day, the Yankees are standing at the train station when the train is pulled away. Who's out there right now that say, you know what? We're going to go trade for this guy, or we're going to go sign this guy. There's no proven middle reliever. There's no bridge. I guess you could say a bridge guy between the back end of the bullpen and the starting pitching. All you have is likely, okay, you have starting pitching depth, fine, that can stretch as maybe as a long reliever. That's it. There's no high velocity guy in the middle of the bullpen that's going to lead the way. There is none. And our manager is a buffoon at managing the bullpen. So how could you even trust him to manage? He couldn't even manage 3 closers last year. So how could you possibly give him zero resources to manage a bullpen? It doesn't make any sense. You went from one extreme to the other. You went from paying relievers like Chapman and Britton to now going out and absolutely doing nothing with the bullpen. You went from trading for Devin Williams, who was supposed to be the best closer in baseball, didn't work out. And then he's like, nope, we're just going to do nothing at all with the bullpen.
Flyer.
Part of the credit, yeah. I mean, that's about it. Let's wrap it up.
Absolute fire.
Look, part of it is because we, where we did give Cashman a slight bit of credit, is he didn't trade a lot of prospects for rentals. We have guys that are coming back because they were traded for players under control. That's fine, but they have to work out. And as much as after seeing the pressure that they were under yesterday, more so Duvall, I think, and the way that he had a really, really good end of the season last year. I think it took him a little while to get adjusted to the lights in New York, but I think he's going to be fine. So Duvall, I am not as worried about as some other fans may be. But yeah, my issue is definitely going to be that middle. It's the bridge from the starters to the back end. Who are some of the guys that could go into? I mean, are we really relying that much on Yarborough? He has some solid moments for us, but is he in that circle of trust? No. Blackburn, no. We didn't even give him a map to figure out how to get to the circle of trust because it'll never happen. You know, is it going to be one of these starters that they're not going to have room for are going to be slotted into the rotation? I don't think Bird is going to be in the bullpen. I think he still has a lot of work to do, and he still has.
But he will be in the bullpen, though. I think he's going to be in the bullpen, bro. He has to be. But I just don't know how good he's.
That would bother me a lot.
So, let's. I mean, I'm thinking about it here. Like Hill, I trust. Tim Hill is reliable.
Yes.
But he's not a high-end guy. He's someone that can eat innings in middle relief. Okay, so that's fine. Fernando Cruz, I like. He does have the odd outing where he loses control, but by and large, I like and I trust. Duvall, his stuff is remarkable. It's not a stuff issue with him. And when we acquired Duvall, I was very excited. But I have been very concerned about his location as a Yankee. But he looked good in the WBC. So I'm kind of okay there. Bednar, love. The dude's a beast, right? So, yeah, the back end of the bullpen I'm fine with. It's the front end of the bullpen that I'm worried about. And that's why it really ties in with the starting pitching point that I made. So if you look at the front end of our bullpen, you're probably looking at Yarbrough, and you're probably looking at Bird. And maybe another arm, but none of the other arms have established themselves in this spring. Chiavelli was meant to be this guy that was going to establish himself, and he has been a catastrophe. Same with Blackburn. Blackburn was someone that they and that's what I'm talking about. For those who said, "Oh, but Brian Cashman didn't roll it back," he absolutely rolled it back. He brought back Blackburn. Why? Are you telling me Blackburn was the best arm in the market for that price? Absolutely not. They didn't bother doing any scouting. They didn't do anything. And so when Luca brings up that very good point, we relied on Williams and we relied on Weaver, especially. Both are gone. None I wanted to bring back, but those two arms still needed to be replaced. And Brian Cashman just went, nah, we'll be fine. We'll try Cade Winquist. We'll try him out. We'll try Chiavelli out. We'll try Blackburn out. All of it's been a complete catastrophe. Now, Spencer does have a good point here in the chat. He does say that relief arms are very volatile. And he is right about that because sometimes we overpay for relievers and you don't get the value. But you still need to actually acquire some. You need to bring some in, and we just didn't do enough. And I'm looking at, for instance, Rodriguez Cruz. I think that's someone that should have been a lock for this bullpen, but he got, he got demoted to minor league camp, so it's not going to be him. So who's it going to be? So then that means that, as you know, as Luke has brought up also, Aaron Boone has got questionable management of the bullpen. That's not his strongest suit. I'm pretty sure that even the most optimistic Aaron Boone supporter would say, yeah, of his managerial traits, his weakest is definitely his bullpen management. And this is definitely the weakest bullpen that he's had to manage because it doesn't have the depth that we're used to. They didn't acquire a high leverage lefty that you can really trust this offseason out of the bullpen. And that's an L. And there wasn't really that much swing and miss guys acquired, and that was an L. The major issues going into this offseason, right, was you needed a righty power bat for the starting lineup. You needed another starter, and you needed some power arms out of the bullpen. Brian Cashman managed, in his incredible wisdom, to do none of the three things. Great work, Brian. That's fucking brilliant, man. How much do we pay you? Amazing work. All the weaknesses in that lineup, there wasn't that many of that team last year, and he did none to address it. Is Ryan Weathers going to address it? It doesn't look like it. Now, it could change in the regular season, but he looks bad. He looks bad. And people contact me, and especially in this chat, saying, "I've watched him. I watched him in San Diego. I watched him, and this dude has a flat fastball that gets absolutely mauled, and I have seen it already. That fastball is flat as shit. So, it is something to pay attention to. I also I'm a little worried about Louis Heel, but I trust Louis Heel. I do trust that Louis Heel's going to get it together, but I mean, he looks a little bit sus as well. And if these guys struggle, and if Warren struggles, that means that our bullpen's going to get overused, and our already suspect bullpen's going to get overused. Then what state are we going to be in when Garrett Cole, Rodon, when the big arms are ready? Like, what's going to happen? Is Weather's going to be moved to the bullpen? That might make sense. There's some question marks. It's the front end of the bullpen and the back end of our rotation were two things that we really needed to get addressed in the offseason, and Brian Cashman decided to do absolutely nothing. So it does sound like I spend most of my time complaining about Brian Cashman, but how could you not?
Well, it's merited.
Like, it's shameful. Shameful what he did this offseason. He should be ashamed of himself. He should be tarred and feathered. He should have been fired for this offseason. But instead, we have the media gaslighting us that he's the best. And if you don't like what he's done, you're a bad fan. Well, I guess I'm a bad fucking fan. Fucking Jesus.
And in regards with Jake Bird, I pulled up on my phone real quick the Yankees depth chart, and looking at the relievers, Jake Bird's not even on the depth chart. They got Bednar, Duvall, Cruz, Hill, Blackburn, Winquist, Yarborough, Chiavelli, and Beto. Those are the relievers on the Yankees depth chart, and they got eight starting pitchers on the depth chart as well. So they definitely have an abundance of pitching. It's none of them really have, aside from, maybe your 1, 2, 3 in your rotation and your 7, 8, 9 in your bullpen. Everybody else was left as a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like we're more concerned about that to get a winning season than the Yankees are. And it goes to, my biggest complaint with Cashman is his ego. You can't be of course, you're always going to be the smartest one in the room when you're by yourself. He did nothing to really bring anything new. Ryan Weathers, I mean, that's really not. First off, Sunil, this is a baseball channel. We appreciate you giving Luca a heads up. That's awesome. There's DMs for that. Or you can catch him on his Jet show, on his channel. But let's just keep it to the Yankees. Por favor.
Neil. Ryan Weathers is dirt, according to Welkin. Well, it doesn't fill me with confidence. He hasn't looked good. Like, he hasn't looked good. From what I've seen, he hasn't looked good. That flat ball is fast. It's fast, but it's flat. And hitters nowadays eat that shit up. No matter how, what your velocity is, if it's flat and doesn't move, it's going to get crushed. So it's something to pay attention to with Ryan Weathers.
Okay. Can I bring something else to the table, and I'll throw it to Luca first? We'll talk about, everybody thinks that everybody's going to be a project for Matt Blake. With the way that the bullpen struggled last year, is there a slight possibility that, a little bit of the gold polish is coming off of Matt Blake's ability to fix every bullpen arm that's handed to him? And also, now we're going to have the absence of Harkey. You have a new bullpen coach as well.
I like
Harkey, we trusted immensely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another part of the equation of why there's a lack of trust.
Good point.
That's a great point, Tats.
Thank you.
I'm not even going to credit myself by saying this. This is actually my brother who said it. he said it last year or the year before that Matt Blake's little projects do have a expiration date. Clay Holmes, think about it. Some random traded from the Pittsburgh Pirates to the New York Yankees. 2022 becomes the most cathartic closer that the Yankee fans have ever seen. I don't know if cathartic's the right word, but great earlier on in the year. Second half, he becomes a dumpster fire. Same thing for 23, same thing for 24. 25, he becomes a New York Met. Luke Weaver, he's gone now. He's also a New York Met. Also another development project who was originally a scrub, remember? He started out as a starting pitcher with the St. Louis Cardinals, I believe it was.
That's right,
The Yankees molded him. He became a very good reliever, damn good reliever, and a damn good closer that he eventually took over the role in 24 towards the end. 25, he wasn't the same after injury. I'm missing at least a few people who have looked good briefly for a time under Matt Blake. I do think there is some sort of magic still there with Matt Blake, but I also do agree with Tats. I think there's some that's fading. But also you have to look at, like, you can't rely on it every time. It's like a secret ingredient. It's the secret ingredient to, like, your favorite dish. It can only be so much of that secret ingredient put into the casserole, the stuffing, whatever. It can't be just doused because it's going to completely ruin it. It's going to completely ruin the dish, and it's going to lose its identity. So Matt Blake's genius should only be used as a secret ingredient. Not every year we have to trade for a freaking sinker ball pitcher because Matt Blake likes sinker ball pitchers, and we're just going to automatically assume it's going to work out. It's not going to work like that. Like,
they've probably overcorrected that, and I think they're almost overestimating at times because there's just some guys that you just can't turn around.
Oh my God, yes. FJ, Michael Tonkin, yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Tonkin, Dennis Santana, Carrasco. Thinking
Cousins
was going to work. And then
Cousins.
the two guys I just mentioned.
Cousins was great for about 6 months to a year, and then it didn't happen after that. I mean, it's amazing what happens in that pitching factory, but some guys are just not good, like Blackburn.
Blackburn was disgusting. He's disgusting. He's a terrible pitcher. He was the first guy that the Yankees signed this offseason.
Yeah. He was, and I'm just sort of like, it just says to me like, oh my God, they're just lazy. And it kind of rings to what Healing Men's says. My boy here, Healing. Cashman just isn't good at finding players on the margins. He's trying to act like a small market team GM. I think he's truly bored and too comfortable in his job. The latter bit is definitely true. He's too comfortable in his job. I don't think he's bored, but I think he's definitely too comfortable in his job. And I think he is slightly lazy right now. He is acting a little lazy because it's just too easy just to go, you know what? I liked our last year's team. Whether you did or not, I liked it, so I'm just going to roll it back. Is basically that mentality. And it was just sort of like, that's lazy. Like, couldn't you have really, like, what kind of scouting did you really do of free agency if your first signing was Blackburn? You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like he was one of many. He was one of one. There wasn't that many arms we brought in. No. And I'm just sort of like saying, like, what was their process? You know, and it raised a red flag that he didn't go to the GM meetings. And it just raised a flag as to, like, are they really comfortable in their positions? Like, how serious are they about, like, upgrading this team? I just think that they were very comfortable, very complacent, and it shows in the margins. And that's the thing that Healing Men's Hearts brings up here.
Very correct.
That's not his strength. His strength for me is someone that, when it comes to negotiating, he's an absolute beast, right? Whether it's trades, whether it's contracts, he is a beast. He is an animal. And people don't like dealing with him, right? But he's kind of a badass, right? Because you look at the positive aspect where he went to CC Sabathia, who wanted to be in the West Coast, and he's like, no, you're going to be a Yankee, right? And here are the reasons why. So you have to give Cashman his flowers for that. He is an animal when it comes to negotiating, and he has done very well in negotiating trades down. So he doesn't lose many trades, right? So I'm trying to give him his flowers to some extent. So it's
Yeah.
not like all like he's an asshole, he sucks. Like there are things that he does which is pretty good. I think that's his strength. I think that's his strength. I think he's like an admin guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like his strength is he deploys guys out to do their jobs, and then he makes the final decision. And then when it comes to making the big move, he kind of has the balls to do it better than others. That's his strength. But he needs to have a good team around him. And I'm looking at that team, and that team around him, like Mike Fishman, Gene Afterman, all those guys have been in the same job. I mean, and Omar Minaya, he was a failed Mets GM. You couldn't find someone younger, hungrier, that was in tune with the analytics now of the modern day. We have exactly the same front office as when we were last won the World Series. I think that the whole front office is in need of a revamp, right? And if you want to keep Brian Cashman at the head of it, you need to have better people around him. And I don't think that's the case. I think that their analytics is a joke. I think Mike Fishman is a big problem. And I think Afterman and Minaya, they just confirm their own biases. And that's the big problem for me. So, like, even though I'm blaming it on Brian Cashman, he's just heading it because he's the GM. I'm not sure whether he makes these final, what kind of role he does or doesn't do behind the scenes, but whatever process it was this offseason was wrong. It was a flawed process from the very get-go where you just say, I'm not going to let us losing in the playoffs tell me that this wasn't a good team. So I'm just going to roll back exactly the same team whether you like it or not. It doesn't say to me that that's a process. That says to me delusion, and that says to me complacency. You know what I'm saying? And it's like not, and it says to me that they're not self-auditing, right? Because they, instead of looking at the reasons why they got lambasted and blown out by the Blue Jays, they just went, I don't care. We're rolling it back. Right. That's weird. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
he was, like I said, he was acting under the manager's wishes.
Yes, it's genuinely weird.
Thought we had a whole opening to the show about him putting his foot in his mouth. I'm like, we're not getting a new team. We called it right from the beginning. As soon as he made that statement, I would take these guys back in a heartbeat. This is the best team I ever coached. I'm like, yep, there you go. We're gonna run it back. Kim Ang, Kim Ang's doing phenomenal for her career. It's only gotten better since she left the Yankees. What does that tell you about the toxicity of the front office?
Why didn't we bring her back? Because she lost her job, right?
Yeah, she was. They didn't renew her contract with the Marlins, so now she's, I think, she's trying to run like a women's baseball league or something like that.
She's leading the charge with that women's league. Yeah.
Yes, and I also want to bring something up as well. You know who's another player that the Yankees used the Matt Blake machine on, and now he's a free agent, and he kind of, I'm not going to say overlasted his welcome, but obviously that expiration date has obviously hit. Nestor Cortez. Remember, he came back 2021, 2022. Dude was an all-star. He was firing on all cylinders. 2023, he was fine. 2024 is when he started to taper off a little bit. The Yankees didn't use him for a month in the postseason. Gives up a bomb to Freddie Freeman. We all remember that. And then the Yankees trade him for Devin Williams. And then what happens? The Brewers end up trading him to the Padres. A guy has an ERA over 6, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I just looked it up last year. And he's a free agent still. The dude's 31 years old. He could be gotten for like a minor league contract at this point. I don't know what his market is. I don't know what he thinks his market is. But the point stands. That's a major, I don't want to say red flag on Matt Blake, but that's just living proof that these experiments have an expiration date. Yeah.
Yeah. But what doesn't have an expiration date is Cashman's ego, because I think he still lives off Aaron Small and Sean Chacon.
Oh my God.
And those guys. You know what I'm saying? Those ones that where dumpster dives finds them, they play great for a year. And that I think is Cashman's motivation. And so he does tend to act sometimes like he's a small market GM, when sometimes you just need to have the balls to go and make the bigger move. but he'd rather just go in the margins and then show how good he is as a GM when some of them turn out. But by and large, there's a reason why they are left alone in the market because they're just not that good. There's the odd ones that turn out, like those two I mentioned, but by and large, they just don't have a long lifespan to them. And Cashman would rather do that rather than make the bigger move because I think there is an ego attached to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at me. Yes. I found this guy that no one else wanted. Their trash is my diamond. And I think he's living off that a little bit because, I mean, let's just look at that. Look at that back end of this the front end of us bullpen. It's trash. Let's just call it what it is. Bird, Blackburn. I mean, and who? What, Yarbrough? That's trash. For a team
it says a lot when Yarbrough's the best of the bunch. Yeah, when he's the best of the bad, then there's a problem.
Yeah,
absolutely. Here's another Yankee experiment. I mean, he was playing a pivotal role for about a year and a half. Anthony Misiewicz, remember him? Southpaw.
Yeah.
From 2023 to 2024, another failed Brian Cashman experiment. As Donald said, how many times before? The Yankees do not make the obvious move.
No, they don't. They don't want to because Bryce Harper is a perfect example of that. I think they wanted to not sign him because they wanted to prove that they were smarter by making an unobvious move, and that was like Aaron Hicks and then these other things. And how did it work out? I didn't see this. Everyone say that.
I think this is
WBC fans are better than Yankee fans. Did you say that?
Let me find that out.
Yeah, that sounds like not JK trolling us. I think somebody's trolling the Yankee universe with that. He's too smart with his words to say something like that.
That doesn't sound like Judge. It sounds like ChatGPT. That doesn't sound like Aaron Judge.
If it comes out to be true, then that's definitely going to be a talking point coming, throughout the week. Well,
I'll tell you this: this guy covers the Dodgers for Dodgers Nation. He's a Dodgers host, Rams, whatever. 50,000 followers, so he's notable. Aaron Judge says WBC crowds are bigger and better than the World Series. It's even bigger the World Series I was in. The crowd here, the crowd we played when we played Mexico, it's bigger and better than the World Series. The passion these fans have is that there's nothing like it. I'm gonna listen to this on the side and make sure it's not AI. I'm just gonna make sure that it's actually him saying this quote. So just gonna keep this on a pin.
Yep.
To be fair, he ain't wrong.
No, and all right. So is it controversial?
Probably a wise thing to say, but he ain't wrong.
No, look. There's different levels of competition. Where you're playing for your regular season or postseason, World Series, and now we're in a new stage of the World Baseball Classic. Yeah, you saw the crowds. They were on fire.
Yeah.
They were hyped up, ready to go. I don't think he's saying that one's better than the other. Maybe he was just, I don't know if the way I'm interpreting it. Like, Lucas take a little deeper dive into it. It could be that, just it was a different atmosphere. Or
what reminded me? It's an atmosphere similar to soccer, like in the World Cup. Mm-hmm. Like that kind of atmosphere, like that pride of country and that kind of camaraderie that you only really get in with soccer, where there's a real passion. And I thought the DR brought that. I thought the DR fans especially brought that, and some of the other ones as well. But there's that kind of passion, that camaraderie, and all that stuff, and they're bringing drums, and it was just kind of like it was fun. It was like a big thing. So I think that was great. And it's different from a baseball atmosphere, a regular baseball atmosphere, even a World Series. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just kind of sad that for instance, I would argue though that the Yankees in October in the old stadium was still better than anything I've ever heard in my life. And it's a shame that that's not transferred over, because Yankee Stadium in October in the old stadium was unbelievable. It was a wall of sound. It was a wall of sound, and it was unbelievable. I just can't find a better way of describing it. It was just unbelievable. So that still is king, but nowadays it's different. It's a different, it's just a different world.
But
so it's not the same anymore. So Judge isn't wrong. He's not wrong. He probably should have just kept his mouth shut, though.
in fairness, yes. I was also going to add, people bring this up on Twitter as well. What about MLB pricing? I mean, I don't know the price of World Baseball Classic tickets. I couldn't tell you because I have never looked at them. What about prices between Yankee Stadium in October versus the World Baseball Classic? You're going to let more fans in, obviously, if the tickets are cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
That's just facts. I mean, that could be MLB's fault. That could be the Yankees' fault. I remember, Donald, we did the World Series back in 24. Tickets were $1,100 plus $2,000 to get into Yankee Stadium. You're pricing out the real fans. I mean, of course, fans are going to spend gobs of money to go to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
That only happens so often. But just the greed a little bit, I mean, that's partly both on MLB and the Yankees. So I can
but it's sport-wide as well, man. I don't even know how, it's definitely the Yankees' fault for that too, but you also have to look at our football teams. The Giants and the Jets have priced out their
hell yeah,
fans.
You're right.
With the seat licensing,
everything involved,
and it's just taken away the old school fan. And I think it's the same with the new Yankee Stadium as well. But at least we have the right field bleachers, and that's great. But there's a lot of, I would say, when I go to games at the new stadium, I would say at least a third of that of the fans that watch the game aren't baseball fans. That they're on their phones, and they're taking Instagram selfies, and it's just an opportunity to
get clicks on social media. I'm here at Yankees.
Yeah, to munch on the food, and
the food's fucking amazing, though, Don.
It's good, but it takes away the atmosphere when a third of the people that are going to the games are just not really there for the baseball. You know what I'm saying? And you can see it when you're watching the game in the luxury seats. The first few rows are usually people in business garb, just chatting away, and the others are on their phones. Some of them just don't even watch the game. So, as I'm saying, this is a new world we're in, because obviously in the old stadium there was no cell phones, there was no Instagram and TikTok and influencers and all that stuff. It was baseball, purely baseball, and that has been. It's been watered down significantly. So is Aaron Judge wrong? No, he's not wrong. He just, maybe it's an opportunity for us to, some of the fan base, to maybe wake up and go, hey, maybe we need to be more locked in on the games when it's time, rather than what's going on Facebook.
In fairness, also as well, out of context, those words, if you're just viewing it as a simpleton fan, Yankee fan, out of context, I'm going to be honest, those words don't sound exactly great. And I'm not saying he was completely wrong. It's just if somebody, as I said, if somebody were to view that out of context, it doesn't look the best optically.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah. Probably best you just get his mouth shut, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up as he was in the heat of the hype of the excitement.
Yeah.
And they caught him off guard. Nobody makes more, bad comments than I do. You get caught up, you get too ahead of yourself, and you speak without thinking. I could write a book on that. But
maybe it's an opportunity for people to listen and go, oh,
be like, oh my God, trade him, get him off our team. He don't like us. No, come on.
I think you could take it both ways. You could take it both ways, though. You could use it kind of as a challenge, going, hey, this is an opportunity for us to bring more excitement when going to baseball games. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe be a little bit more focused, maybe bring a bit more of a fun atmosphere to it. Another way you look at it is going, that's how much the WC meant to people, and this is good for baseball. And I agree with Uncle Tats here that I think it should be more than once every 4 years. I think it should be once every 2 years.
Yeah. Yep. Bring this up here because I'm going to bring something up before we close out, in regards with opening day. Because he looked at opening day, Pirates at Mets in the area. Normally, one ticket was going for $300. He's going to a game in April against the Nats, and it's $30. Now, me and the guys I work with, because opening day at Yankee Stadium is on Good Friday. So I'm like, wow, we're all off on that day. Wouldn't it be cool to go? Maybe we'll try to get tickets to opening day. The whole group of guys I work with will go.
Yeah.
We were looking right that night before, and the tickets were on the Game Time app, which my favorite app to use for tickets. Was $98 each for 5 tickets. Not crazy, not outrageous. Went home, talked to my wife. Look, this is what we're planning. Are you off that? And she goes, no, I'm working. She goes, go to the game. Like, all right. Went back on. I was going to buy the 5 tickets. And if I couldn't use them, like if other guys backed out, I could easily give the tickets away. $152 a ticket. 6 hours later.
What?
Oh my God.
Same tickets on the secondary market.
$152?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, they ain't going opening day.
You always go to opening day. Oh man, that's
no. I take off on opening day.
Oh, okay. But that sucks. $152?
Yeah, to go to Yankee Stadium to sit in the bleachers.
Oh man, they're pricing people out.
The
and you have to watch it on Netflix.
Standing room tickets were $128 just to stand there, not even to have a seat.
And you have to watch it on Netflix.
That's what I'm gonna be doing. Yep.
Don't even get
me. Now I gotta, So I gotta buy Netflix just to watch the fucking game. But
do you know
the Netflix game is in San Francisco, not at Yankee Stadium.
Oh shit, man!
Maybe Isn't the game at like 8:00 as well? Think about it.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, it's a Wednesday at 8. But there are other teams that their opening day is still Thursday.
You got to get
every team should have to get. It's just like the last game of the year. Every game should be at the same time.
But there's people who got to get up for the work the next day. Come on. 8:00 on a Wednesday.
Yep.
Like, what do we do?
Yeah. Thank you, MLB.
That sucks, man. That's
you know what? This is nothing. This is not a take to an attack on the Yankees or the San Francisco Giants. No, I hope the ratings for that game are terrible.
Okay, let's be honest here. Somebody's gonna pirate that game anyway. Somebody's gonna put that on an illegal streaming site. Bet money on that. Somebody will put it on crack streams or whatever. Somebody's gonna pirate that game. Let's not be ridiculous here.
Yeah, being on Netflix is a joke. It's a shame, man. They're pricing out the regular fan.
It's not that they're pricing. It's how many more subscriptions do we need as fans to watch the game?
They are pricing you out. Then you need a Netflix subscription. I mean, luckily I have, but do you have a Netflix?
No, I don't even have cable.
I don't watch.
I'll send you my password. You can watch. I feel bad. That sucks.
I got rid of cable because of all the streaming apps, and then they priced out the streaming apps.
Yeah, we should honestly start counting. I mean, you need Prime Video, you need MLB, you need Apple TV, which their broadcast sucks.
Terrible.
You need Peacock, and now you need Netflix. I'm probably missing something, but that's 4.
And then there's 2 games a year on the Roku channel.
Then Roku.
That's 5.
But at least Roku is free.
Okay,
Roku's free. But the Gotham app, and you need the and you need all these.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, if you don't have cable,
8 apps, Jonathan saying.
8. That's absurd. That is absurd.
Well, if you don't have if you can't connect your streaming service to the Yes Network or Gotham, then you're gonna have to pay up the ass, literally. And that's shameful on all the sports teams' part for such crappy service. I mean, that's the prices are wicked, but MLB is
Yeah,
doing a
and
very poor
hey,
job.
I mean, if the Yankees had a team like the Dodgers, it would still be like that's still taking the piss. But to have a team that isn't even that good, let's be
No,
honest, like they're not that good. They're okay. They're not that great. You have to pay up the ass. It just doesn't seem like it's worth it. It's absurd.
there's no ROI. There's no return on your investment at all.
No.
No.
And that's the shame of it, because it doesn't matter if the team it plays well or not. Like, we're gonna tune in. We're gonna find a way to tune into every game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't pay for the MLB app for the TV because I'm already in the
That's
New York
expensive as
market,
well.
so it blacks out the games for me anyway. If I got the MLB package,
It's fucking expensive too, by the way.
you know,
Yeah.
I one, and I work at night. How many games do I actually get to sit in front of the TV?
Yeah.
You know, I pay the $30 a year for the radio, and I can listen to the radio broadcast through the app, no matter where I am. And I can listen to every game of every team that plays. So the radio package, I think you get a better bang for your buck. Plus, baseball is king on the radio. Sorry, Michael K. Baseball on the radio trumps
Oh, there's
everything.
nothing like it. Just sitting. I mean,
It's kind of nice, actually.
Yeah,
it's just brief story. It's like it brings me back to my childhood when I would like sit in the car because I didn't want to go into Wegmans with the rest of my family. My dad would leave the car on. It would be a WFAN 101.9. That's where I really fell in love with John Sterling. I mean, you could go back to the games of 2012 when the Yankees were playing the Reds at Yankee Stadium. I'd be sitting in the car listening to John Sterling, but there's nothing like baseball on the radio. You just hear the crowd. You hear this. It's not like it's football or basketball. I mean, yes, you do hear the sights and sounds of each game, but baseball between pitches, and obviously the gap has closed between pitches because obviously the pitch clock. So it's like nowadays from back then, 2012. I know it's saying back then.
The banter back and forth between him and Susan.
Back and forth. The ball, the crack of the bat, the sound of the wall, the sound of the crowd. I mean, I'm sounding like an old fart, but honestly, like baseball on the radio is legit.
So I've got the I saved and framed the ticket stub of David Cohn's perfect game. Right,
Okay.
I got it here, and the price.
Oh boy,
$14. $14. I know it wasn't the bleachers. It was a good seat. $14.
That's sad.
July 18th, 1999, baby. $14. For the same seats now, forget about it.
But my last thing I'm going to say,
$14. Jesus, it's absurd, isn't it?
those were the days.
To see Derek Jeter, see perfect games.
and don't forget they price you out on food as well for their food creations.
Yeah.
See, once in a while, if especially when I'm there with my son, because he's a big foodie. He likes trying new foods, and then if he likes it, he tries to create his own recipe for it. So he does spoil me to a lot of good food. At a game, just give me a hot dog and a beer. I'm a very happy guy.
That's what it's a baseball game, for Christ's sake.
I don't vouch for that. I don't go for all the crazy food. Just give me a fucking hot dog, and I'm happy. Happy.
Same here. If I want to go to a steakhouse, I will go to a steakhouse. I don't need to steakhouse at Yankee Stadium.
Don't eat sushi either.
No.
Yeah, the beers now are more expensive than that ticket.
There's a million Japanese sushi restaurants in New York City. I don't need to go to the stadium. Come on. Absurd. So stupid.
With the radio, that's the one thing I do miss. And that's the one that's what I don't like about the pitch clock, because they don't have time to reminisce and talk stories,
True.
And that was something that John and Susan did very well while they were working together. those, to kill time, they take a little trip down memory lane. And you'd be surprised what you're able to learn from those conversations. But yeah, radio is they can't. It's nothing better than it. It really isn't.
Should we finish off with this question? If Aaron Boone wasn't
Yep.
the manager of this team, do you think another capable manager can take this team further? Boone is too lax, and that demeanor trickles down. I mean, you're right. Boone is too lax, and that demeanor does trickle down. So let's pass it on to the panel. Tats, look.
Oh, Tats, go first.
I kind of here's my concern with Boone, because he can manage to win games. We've seen that. And it happens almost every season, where when Boone's not managing with the binder, he actually gets a little creative and pulls some wins out. I do think that's why the fans the players respond to him. It's when the front office and the binders start taking over some of the manipulating some decisions, that things can go off the rails. Boone can end up being one of the more winning, have the most winning games without a World Series title. And where's that going to put it? This came up in a discussion over the weekend. Where would that put him in the Yankee lore? To have the most wins as a manager, but yet still not hold up a trophy. Like, that could be, we could dive into that another time. I just don't. There could be a million people that can manage this team. The players are going to play, but Boone only can work with the team that his GM gives him. So that's why it's not so much that it's Boone, not so much that it's Cashman. I think it's the both of them. I think they've become so entwined with each other that as long as one's there, the other one will be, and this is what we're going to be getting. It's going to be a roller coaster, because they're going to have some good streaks, and they're going to have the June swoons. Like, you could already script this. You could pretty much script the entire season already of what's going to happen.
Unfortunately, I can. Luca, what's your thoughts?
It's interesting, because I would say yes right off the bat, because Boone doesn't know how to manage his team out of a paper bag. I think the players like him because he's a nice guy. I don't think the players like him because he could be, so to say, a lineup X's and O's guy to win you games. I don't think he's that guy.
Agree.
Yes, on the principle, like a few years ago, the Yankees, if they fired Boone properly after the World Series, they could have had Skip Schumacher. And Skip Schumacher took such a low payroll Marlins team to the first round versus the Phillies. They lost, yes, I know. But he got shortchanged in Miami, and he's now the manager of the Texas Rangers. You know who the Yankees could have had many years ago? Terry Francona. I would have definitely taken Tito Francona over Aaron Boone.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sure there's another manager I'm probably naming, but regardless, not to the point. But also, you also have to collect the fact, yes, Boone is not a good X's and, I guess I don't even would call it X's and O's manager. But here's the thing as well. Tats is right to a point where he says he can only manage the team that's in front of him. That's a plot. That's a fair point. It's also a fair point is that the culture that was set wasn't exactly set by him. It's from Hal to Cashman to Boone to the players. It's a trickle-down effect that extends beyond Aaron Boone. And I'm not saying he isn't culpable for it. He is, when he gives those, I saw some good things, and, he won't do that again. He feels bad for it. No, he's culpable for it, but he's a symptom of a much larger disease.
Yeah.
That I completely agree with. I mean, remember when he said at the start of the offseason where he said that they're the least analytical situational team in the American League East?
Yes.
And you have to think, I'm not surprised, because there's not an analytic on earth that would say Nestor Cortez should be pitching against Freeman in the World Series. And these are the decisions that are absurd, and he's made them a lot. He pitched to Ohtani, I remember, and then when it was a walk off, and then when he was asked about it afterwards, he was like, "Oh well, there was still a 9 out of 10 chance he wasn't going to hit a home run." You're a fucking idiot. So it's like situationally, I don't think Aaron Boone is strong.
No.
Bullpen management wise, I don't think Aaron Boone is strong. Motivation wise, keeping his team focused, I don't think he's strong. I don't think the squad fear him in terms of like a respect fear, and that's a good thing. I think everyone should have like a respect fear of someone that's been there, done that. You respect them. You don't want to piss him off. You don't want to do him wrong. You want to make him proud. That kind of manager. He just isn't that guy. And then you've already named a bunch of guys. I think that the Blue Jays manager completely clears Aaron Boone. I think Alex Cora laps Aaron Boone 10 times over. I think Schumacher skips past Aaron Boone. I think there's at least 10 to 12 managers in the majors that lap Aaron Boone. Lap him. And is that acceptable for a team like the Yankees? Not in my opinion.
No.
He just isn't that guy. His situational management is not strong. And the reason why they go in these big, long June swoons is because he doesn't hold anyone accountable. And that's why he was asked that question by Talking Yanks. I'm glad they asked him. Or no, it was WFAN asked him that question. It was sort of like how, like, do you hold guys accountable? And he says, oh, well, I have a lot of these conversations, like, off camera or off screen or, behind the scenes that you maybe not privy to. I'm sure you are, but it's still not having an effect because the same mistakes happen on a daily basis. So clearly it's not translating. Now, to give him a break to some extent, he can only manage what he's got. And I look at this roster, and I'm going to have a hard time blaming him too much for this, like for what's going to happen with this roster, because the problems are above him with that. And also there are certain things that he does well. Like what I will say is you never hear any locker room leaks. You never hear a locker room fall apart under him. He does a good job in holding the whole ship together and keep it on course to some extent. He just doesn't really get you to the end destination, which is the World Series. He docks a couple of ports before the World Series. Yeah, I'm saying he kind of docks a little early, but he keeps you on the sea for a while, just not to the end goal. You know what I'm saying? So he isn't like a captain of the Titanic. He's just the kind of a very it's just not that strong. I think there's a bunch of better managers out there. So, but still, I look at this roster. I'm thinking. I mean, at the moment, and I'm probably going to change because he's going to do something stupid. I'm going to rant about it. But at the moment, I think that the roster's flawed. That and there's issues with that bullpen. And there's issues with that back end of the rotation. There's issues with the lack of righty bats. And I'm thinking, how much can Aaron Boone really do with this? So I think Aaron Boone is a mediocre manager, maybe slightly above mediocre. If I'm being optimistic, I'd say, he's slightly above mediocre. But for a team like the Yankees, is that good enough? Not in my opinion. That's where I stand with Aaron Boone.
No, see, here's where I'll counter you before we sign off, Donald. I'm going to blame him for everything this year. He gets no excuses. He asked for this roster back.
Did he?
He asked for this. These are the guys that he says that he could ride into the sunset with to win a World Series. So if he doesn't, it is all his fault, not the front office. He asked for this. So fuck him. It's all his fault.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Right?
What a way to finish. Mic drop.
So with
Mic
that,
drop.
make sure you hit that like button if you agree with me. Hit that sub button if you want to join the channel. The next show, we'll see you on Wednesday. Also, make sure you share this out, your friends, your family. The Strangers on the Corner. Since Pitch Rock Chronicles, I'm Uncle Tats with
Thank
Donald and Rob. Yep, you should have stayed in the booth.
Say
Um,
that.
Wait,
with
I'm
that,
sorry. Hold on a
we
second.
will.
I'm sorry. Tats,
Yep.
did you just call me Rob?
Did I?
I hope you
Yes.
didn't, man. We're gonna have issues if you did. I'm gonna watch it back, and if you did,
Oh,
you're in trouble in
my
your DA.
bad, Luca. My bad. Somebody brought his name up in the chat, and now I have his name.
That
on
was
my-
Sunil. Are you gonna blame Sunil for this as well, Uncle Tats?
Yeah, because so I saw that. I'm like, oh, so I got to reach out to him.
Oh, unbelievable, Tats. You take the L. Do you know what I'm gonna say? To jump in about Aaron Boone, we would guaranteed have had at least one World Series win under our belts if we had a different manager.
I agree with you.
100%. Yes, we do love Luca.
What?
Luca has been
Yes, we do.
beast
No, this
coming
is
in.
this is all me. Armand, yeah, I pulled the bone. But with that, we will see you next time.
I
Until you
can't
hear those
believe I
pitch
didn't
right
pay
to Brian.
attention to that. Oh, you're in such big trouble, Uncle Tats.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get it. Maybe my next tattoo will be an L on my forehead. But with
Wow.
that, play those pitch right to pride and play on.